This is Maddie from the South Whitley Community Public Library, and I have a paint pouring tutorial for you. This goes along with our theme of painting without a brush for June for Kit of the Month Club. And it's a really easy way to create a fun little canvas without a paintbrush. So to start out with, I have your list of materials you'll need. You will definitely need newspaper. Any newspaper, preferably if you're going to have it laid out, make sure that there are a couple of layers to avoid spills and leakage. That's always good. Then you will definitely need paint. I used this little, they're little paint pots. They're actually kids' washable paint, but they work fine. They are water-based and they do take a long time to dry, especially for this project because we're going to be using multiple layers of paint and it'll be kind of thick. So just be prepared for that. This isn't something that you could probably do with kids and then just leave it out for a few minutes and then expect it to be done. It's going to take a while to dry, but it's worth it. So I used black, a light blue, and a like magenta fuchsia-ish color. Not quite purple, but pinkish purple. So those are the paint I used. Next, cups. We used little Dixie cups, just like the bathroom sized ones. You don't need much more than that because you're going to be using a different cup for each color. So you don't really necessarily need a big cup. You can just use small ones. Next, we have canvas. Now, canvas for this, we used just a standard 4x4 board canvas. It is pre-treated. It's primed white. But other than that, you can use pretty much any canvas you have lying around. Keep in mind that if it's a larger canvas, you need more paint. And also, if you're going to use a large canvas, you might want to use a larger cup as your base. These cups worked fine with the small canvases because it is such a small cup. So you can just set it just like that. But keep that in mind. If you have a larger canvas, you'll need a bigger cup, maybe like a solo cup. Then for water, just water to thin down the paint, what I'll show you further on. And then a straw. We just have a regular old straw, not like barn straw, but a drinking straw. And then paper clip. That just helps you with the design. It helps you monkey around with what you're doing. It's just a fun tool. It's like it creates a marbling effect. I'll show you later. And some additional things. I know I said paint without a brush, but I did use a mini paintbrush. Actually, I used the end of it. You probably can still see there's some paint on the end of it. I used it to dig the paint out of the paint pot. You can use anything. You could use a popsicle stick, another straw, a spoon, it's whatever, but I used the end of the paintbrush. And of course, where would we be without paper towel? Because, I kept getting paint on my, I just did. I got paint on my hands. So you always need that. So that's your list of materials. So we'll get on to the actual tutorial. I started out, like I showed you, I just used a cup as the base to keep it off of the newspaper. This helps because it helps it dry, and also the underside, you'll get like little drips underneath. And this allows it, if you just had the canvas lying on the newspaper, you would run into the problem of the paint drips would get on the edge of the canvas against the paper and it would stick to the paper. Then you'll end up, when it dries, you'll have to peel it off of the newspaper and it gets stuck. So this just prevents that. It gives it like a little pedestal and then you can just paint on top of it. So that's your initial setup. And then you'll have, here we have, I just took the paint pot and the paintbrush and I emptied it out into one of the cups. If possible, just use different cups for different colors so that you won't get anything mixed up. Then I added water. So this is you have to kind of eyeball it. I'm not going to include measurements just because it's kind of up to you. As long as it ends up being something like this. This is like sort of an oily, bubbly consistency. It should be like syrupy, So initially, when you put the paint in the cup, it's going to be like gloopy. Like gloopy is probably the best word I can think of. But if you add a little bit of water, it's going to become more syrupy and oily. So I went for oily, especially for the black, because I wanted black to spread the most across the canvas, because black was like my base color I was using. So that's just a good way to start out with like an oily consistency. Next, you'll just start pouring. So paint pouring is just all that sounds like. It's just pouring paint on a canvas or whatever. You can paint on whatever you want. But that's what it looks like to begin with. You just start going. I kind of just went everywhere. I didn't really have a clear path in mind. I just thought it'd be fun to just swirl it around, drop it everywhere. So that's initially what you do. And then as you finish, just make sure you kind of spread it out depending on how many colors you're going to use. I was going to use 3, so I wanted to definitely leave room for the other colors. So after I finished with black, I moved on to blue. I initially started, I think I've said initially 3 times. I'm sorry about that. I like the word initially, I guess. So I added the blue into like the puddles of black, and that kind of added like a poppy effect. I don't know. It was kind of cool. That's what it ended up looking like. That was cool. I could have just left it like that. Like I think that looks cool. It's kind of minimal, but I think it's cool. And then I added the magenta-y fuchsia color around the edges. And as you can see, the blue kind of swirled in with the black really well because when you mix the paint with the water. Oh, and I did mix all the colors with water. I just didn't take pictures of me adding water to the blue or the fuchsia-y color. So you'll add water to all of them before you start pouring, but they'll mix as you go. So you'll kind of get an understanding and a visual for what it's going to look like eventually as you pour. And I went all the way around with the purpley color. And then I went more with the black because as I was looking at it, I thought, I don't want this to be like just a bunch of blue and purple on top. Like I want to add more black. And then I went back with the blue also. So you can see it's just a swirl of paint. Like it's all over the place. Now, to manipulate your canvas and to making it more marbly, you can use the paper clip. So the paper clip, if you've ever like made a cake, cheesecake, brownie mix where you'll take the knife and go through the batter and sort of swirl. I guess I could do it this way. You kind of go up and down and swirl around. You kind of make like a, I don't know, like a swirl pattern, I guess. This is what it looks like. You can kind of see it. As you go back and forth with a paper clip, you'll create that effect, just like you would like a knife through batter or whatever. So that adds a nice touch. And then also, I didn't quite get the paint all the way to the edges of the canvas. So to ensure that without touching it too much, I was able to use a straw. This is a great angle of me, but it's just me blowing on the canvas with a straw. And air just allows that manipulation to like push. And as you'll see, some of the paint did drip off, obviously. And that's why we have the newspaper, the several layers of newspaper. I think I didn't unfold it. I just left it folded. So there were like 4 layers of paper there to protect the countertop. And this is what I ended up with. I just left it kind of as is. I didn't really manipulate it further. After I did that swirl effect with the paper clip, and then after I blew on it to get the paint all the way to the edges, I just left it like that. And I was satisfied with it. I don't know. It looks kind of cool. I think it looks cool anyway. But there's my example for you. And then I left it out in the sun. I found a sunny spot here in the library, and I left it to dry. As I mentioned, this is water-based paint, and there is a lot of it on this canvas, depending on how much you used and how many layers. I used a lot of layers. So it's actually, I can see it right now. It's over there. It's probably going to take several hours to dry. I looked it up online, and it said water-based paint usually takes like an hour, But that's if you're actually using a brush and it's one layer. So just be prepared that if you're going to leave it in the sun, it might take a few hours, but then it will be dry and then you can frame it, display it, whatever you want. So hope you enjoy paint pouring. Thank you.